This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All righty. How you feeling, Ira?
I'm feeling good to a degree. Nice holiday weekend. I'm feeling a little uneven when you realized how little the Celtics had to go through to get to the NBA Finals, and that if the Heat played things right, at worst, we might have the last Heat game of the season last night. I mean, the East was a disaster. Boston, as we saw, basically turned it on for 5 minutes at the end of every game and go, okay, this will be good enough. We'll win the game. And it just really showed you how, I don't want to say the East was there for the taking, but the opportunity, Big O, to be competitive was there for the taking. And a month later, it just makes you feel all the worse about how a team could basically crap away a regular season and expect something that was unreasonable from the get-go.
By the way, they've crapped away 2 regular seasons. They just were fortunate that they made something out of it last year, but they tried to do that same bullshit again this year. And so let's call it like we see it. If Jimmy wants to be a star again, then, hey, you're more than welcome to start working in the regular season again, because real stars carry you through the regular season and in the postseason, because that's what I'm used to. I'm used to watching Alonzo Mourning carry you through the regular season, and Wade and LeBron and everybody else. So, let's get back to playing real basketball where you actually give a shit, about the regular season. But let me get to...
And the Celtics players, with the exception of Porzingis, played the regular season and were mostly healthy in the regular season and developed this wonderful chemistry that at moments of truth was there because it was there in November and December and January. So all of a sudden, you don't have to flip a switch. There's no flipping of switches. You have told me on our accurate Pembroke Pines report during the season, they might think they're going to flip a switch, but that switch sometimes doesn't exist. You don't know where to go for it. You remember those commercials and the easy button? Yeah.
The hell are you? Are you fucking Magic and Worthy and Kareem that you can flip the switch? Are you all of a sudden Michael and Pippen and all
those guys didn't flip a switch? Michael Jordan went out every year to have the best regular season record.
But my point is, if you are Duncan, Ginobili, and Parker and all, I can see you flipping a switch because you guys are all studs and you've been together forever. And so maybe you go through a lull for a couple of months and you can flip it, sure. But who the hell are you? You're Jimmy Butler and a bunch of role players. Get the hell out of here, bro. Who the hell do you people think you are? You're a bunch of overachievers the last couple of years. You're not a star-studded team like I just mentioned that I can respect and say, yeah, we can turn it on and turn it off on you because you are this shit. I'm talking about Magic Johnson. I'm talking about James Worthy, and I'm talking about Kareem. Of course you can turn it on and turn it off. And Michael, if he wanted to turn it on and turn it off, he could do stuff like that. But the Miami Heat that I've seen the last couple of years, if you thought that way, shame on you.
But you know what, Big O, let's not generalize. Let's not generalize because for this reason. No matter what you might think of him as a super role player or something else, I think you would agree Bam Adebayo busts his ass to the best of his ability just about every night, correct?
Yes.
Eric Spoelstra busts his ass to the best of his ability, right? Yeah. Eric Spoelstra.
Yeah, but Bam cannot impose his offensive will
but he gives his all. But he gives his all, and that's all you want, and that's all fans want. When I go to a Heat game or even see an injured list of questionable, I know Bam's going to be there and work his hardest. When I know that Eric Spoelstra goes into a game, I know that whether it's December against a bottom-feeding Washington Wizards team, Eric Spoelstra is going to coach his ass off because that's what he does, because that's what he get paid to do. So let's not overly generalize. I would say probably at least half the team on this Heat team, for better or worse, for lack of ability or worse, do push hard. But when certain people set a tone of otherwise, we saw it with Jimmy, we saw it with Kyle Lowry, it becomes infectious and it leads to the kind of season you have, whereas a Boston team had continuity all the way along. Look at a guy like Luka Doncic playing tonight in the Western Conference Finals to go to the finals. Big O, say what you want about Luka. I think you would agree he pushes himself every night. He is bitching at the referees in November, in December, in February, because it matters to him. All I want to see, we're seeing it now from the Panthers. I want to see it from our other team. I want to see it matter every single night. And you know what? To your argument, Big O, certain players can pick and choose. Lionel Messi, if he doesn't want to go to Vancouver, he doesn't have to go to Vancouver. We knew what we were getting, an aging superstar who would pick his times. If Jimmy wants to be the aging superstar, that's one thing. But this isn't the MLS. This is the top basketball league in the world, and that's a lot harder to do. Believe me, Messi couldn't pick and choose in the Premiership when he was going to play hard and when he wasn't. It's a different level. In the MLS, Inter Miami can pull that off.
Okay, but you know, it's funny how, but in this case, I know what you're saying, but it's funny on the Inter side, I look at it like Messi plays so freaking hard
when he does
plays, and he plays all the time. He plays all the time. It's hard to take him up. So I'm glad actually they've taken this twist the last couple of weeks where they've said, no. We're not pushing it. Let's give him a rest. We got 2 games this week.
Agreed.
Let's end Vancouver and back and all. For me, what I needed on Saturday, just to kind of get off the beaten path a little bit, because I can't do this with anybody else. I could do it with you because you're an all sports guy. But what I needed on Saturday, I needed my Spo moment from Tata. And that's what I got on Saturday. I got a little tiny bit. I'm not going to even put Tata and Spo's, stratosphere. But I saw Taylor and Campana and all these younger cats play well together. And I know Taylor and Campana can play, so that was the satisfactory for me.
It was Inter Miami's "We Have Enough" night. It was their "We Have Enough" night. You tell me all year that's what coaching is about until you don't have enough. That in the MLS you can pull that off and have enough. But if you were to put that roster out there in a legitimate cup scenario against a higher level of competition, it would have been a different story.
No, that's fine. But see, I know Campana can start on half the league. Okay. So, and I know Robert Taylor's a heck of a player. He's already proven that. And Kremoski and these guys, it's like, and you got a heck of a goaltender. You have enough to go beat Vancouver. Show me something, Tata. And that's what I needed on Saturday. So I was I needed a little more of a Spo moment out of Tata than anything else. Cause it's like, bro, you're Messi dependent. Right. Of course, when Messi's out there, the offense is on fire. Show me something without him, and that's what I needed to see on Saturday. Now, let me get to this stuff that I really want to get to because I fucking laughed at Cuban when he made the Kyrie Irving trade. Mm-hmm. I said, you're out of your effing mind for making this trade. I would never count on Kyrie Irving. I would never imagine that the Dallas Mavericks could play enough defense to make a deep run in the playoffs, to be quite honest. I never predicted that the Mavs would dominate the Minnesota Timberwolves. I don't know how many times I can be wrong on this situation, but I never, ever in my life saw this coming. So I give Cuban and his front office a ton of credit for the guts to make the move, for the vision, for the, I don't know, for staying with it too, because early on it was kind of ugly, and yet they stayed with it. They extended him and everything. To me, I just, you got to admit when you're wrong, wrong. And wow, dude.
And this is why awards should be voted after the playoffs, including Executive of the Year for Nico Harrison for this reason. Wow. Let's not only look at the Kyrie trade, but the Daniel Gafford pickup and having a big body. The Derek Lively draft choice at number 12 and having a big body. Signing for the minimum, a name you're familiar with, Big O, Derek Jones Jr. And getting a 3-and-D power forward defender and putting that together. So what I would equate to this is, and this, folks, goes back to a conversation I had with Orlando Alzugaray 2 decades ago when we were talking about a Shaquille O'Neal trade. And we were talking, I think it was a QAM at the time, as how much is too much. And the debate was, okay, Brian Grant and Eddie Jones and everything is fine. Can't throw in Caron Butler. And we debated back and forth whether you should let that be the breaking point for the Shaq trade. And we agreed, you get a great player, you do it. The lesson we've learned from Dallas is You might have thought at the time that Dorian Finney-Smith and Spencer Dinwiddie and the capital they gave up was too much for Kyrie Irving, but you have to take a chance for greatness. So, Big O, I'm going to posit this to you now, 2 decades after Caron Butler going out to LA for Shaquille O'Neal. Would you be willing to, and I'm going to hold you to this on our upcoming accurate Pembroke Pines reports through the offseason, in a package that includes enough salary, whether it's Tyler Hero, whether it's other players, would you be willing to give up both Jaime Jaquez Jr. and Nikola Jovic for Donovan Mitchell in a package? Yes or no?
Yeah, you got to you're going to have to give him up. Now Donovan Mitchell again is not 400 pounds with a toe problem Shaq, is not flat earth problem child Kyrie, I can't grow up Irving. So all these things, you were inheriting this, and then Kyrie, you've gotten the best out of him. Shaq lost an entire human being in weight and played basketball. The year before they won the championship, that was the year that Shaq played out of his freaking mind. That if he wasn't injured, they would have easily beaten the Pistons, and I think they would have beaten the Spurs that year. The way Shaq and Wade were playing, it was amazing. So there were issues with those moves that, the Kyrie is kind of shady, and Shaq at that moment wasn't taking care of himself physically. So that's why I had trepidations. Donovan Mitchell is a class A individual, dude. Like you've never said anything B,
right.
For C, D, and F. No. Those grades have never even changed. No, this is an A+ individual.
And my point is, you give up a little bit more of good and nice for a chance of greatness. The Heat took a chance of greatness with Shaq, and it worked out. The Mavericks took a chance of greatness of a player who already won a championship in Kyrie Irving, and it worked out. Now, sometimes you trade for the Ben Simmons. Sometimes you trade for the James Harden, and you get burned. But you know what? This is a star league. This is a league more than any other sport, including, I'm going to even put football up there, where one player, because only 5 play at a time,
is not enough.
Can make that much of a difference. So when you look at it, so when people are talking about Heat possibilities, and I've heard this plenty, wait, you can't give up Jovic and Jaime and 2 first-round picks. Yeah, you can, because greatness is so hard to find in this league that I think if the Heat have to make a choice, and Pat Riley has to make that choice, I think you always go all in, because greatness is what wins championships.
Yeah. No, I mean, listen, that it goes without saying, and we've seen it. But now I'm kind of not buying that whole thing because, one, I don't think he's going anywhere. I think Cleveland's going to give him the deal. I think the run they had kind of convinced him overall. And I also believe that there'll be a bunch of teams that can outbid the Heat. So I just can't build myself up for that because I just don't think it's going to end up happening.
But you know what? I think when a player starts his career in Utah and in Cleveland, you get that wanderlust of wanting to get to a real place and enjoying your seasons, not having that bitter cold of being in a glamour market. And I see some of that in Donovan Mitchell. Now, everyone thought, okay, go to the Knicks. Perfect fit. Grew up a Knicks fan from the New York area. Makes sense. He doesn't mesh with Jalen Brunson. They were the same ball-dominant player. The Nets are back to being what the Nets always were, the other team. They're the Clippers of New York. They're never going to measure up to the Knicks, even when they have a better team. So I don't see that. So if Donovan Mitchell gets to the point where, you know what, I want to play where I want to play, and I want to play for a place that has that championship lineage, I think that could open the Heat door. Now, as far as Dan Gilbert dealing with the Heat, okay, that's a little bit different. That's another thing. It might not quite be Joe Cronin-like, but that'll be interesting. But Big O, I'm here for the possibilities. I was here for Lillard last summer, whether you agreed or not. I'm here for Mitchell until proven otherwise. You have to shoot for the stars without letting it upset the whole apple cart. I understand that in the Kevin Durant stuff, but you got to think big. You're Pat freaking Riley.
No, I get it. And if you want to, fast track it, you're going to have to try to do it this way. And I totally understand that. I just don't want to build myself up because what I've seen lately, if Dwayne Wade's not involved, you're not getting it. And so I don't even know, just like last year with Damian Lillard, their only shot with Damian Lillard was Damian Lillard had to become a dick, and he wasn't willing to become a dick. And that's what they needed. And I almost feel like we'll never know, but I almost feel like the Heat knew he had to be a dick. The agent knew he had to be a dick. But unfortunately, Damian Lillard didn't figure it out himself or something. I don't know.
Couldn't or wouldn't or couldn't or wouldn't.
What were you, Brian Flores? You're on that boat and you're like, yo, man, we got Tom Brady coming. Brian, let's have a little conversation with him. I'm not doing that. What's wrong with you, bro? Let's get this shit done.
The difference is Damian Lillard had a new extension in place in multi-years and couldn't control. Donovan Mitchell can leave any team. The Cavaliers were a team he's traded to after 1 year. That's the hook that matters in the NBA. That's what got Paul George out of Indiana early when he went to OKC. So there's a little bit more leverage here. So you might need to be you don't have to be as much of a jerk in that case. You can simply say, hey, any team who gets me, I might be walking after a year. Just know that Damian Lillard couldn't do that. That's why he had to show up in Milwaukee with 4 years left on his contract and say,
he could have told Milwaukee, hey, you guys want to trade for me? Fine, but I don't want to be there. So if you want a player to be there, not be there for 4 years, and you're asking me to play in a place I don't want to be at, you guys go ahead and make that trade, because that's what I would have done. Damian wasn't willing to
that was 4 years of contract, not one where you consider be miserable. We've seen.
In fact, Ira, let me spin that on you. That's more leverage than even the 1 year. You know why? I'm telling you, I'm going to be a dick for 4 years. I'm going to tell you I don't want to be in Milwaukee for 4 years. In fact, when the media asks me, I'm going to say I got traded here. I'm only here because I've been forced to be here. I don't want to be here. So if you want a player like that, that's not going to create a good vibe for your media or your fans. I will tell everybody publicly, I don't want to be here. Milwaukee would not have made that move then. Damian doesn't have it in him. That's his problem. He's a nice guy, actually. He might have an edge on the court. Off the court, he has no business edge. Clearly, he has no business edge.
See, my opposite is I think better leverage is I'm glad to be here for 1 year, but I'm out of here. I'm renting. I'm not buying because come next July, I'm gone. That's pretty good leverage also. You can play that with a smile. That's the difference, Big O. You can do that with a smile, not hurt your image, and be clear about it. From the moment Jimmy Butler went to Minnesota from Chicago, he let him know as soon as this deal's over, I'm headed somewhere else to get rid of me now or get nothing in exchange. They got their package back. I think Donovan Mitchell still can. We have to see the direction they go with the coach and the rest of the roster. That's going to be in flux for a little while, I think.
If Damian ever wants to learn how to have balls in business, he can call me and I'll teach him how to do it.
And give him a Bitcoin hat also. Feel free.
Forget the Bitcoin. That's balls on another end. I'm just saying I did it because I did it at QAM. Okay, I knew how to get out. I knew how to be in a better place because I've been in a much better place. In fact, June 15 will be 4 years, and so. I'm in a better place. I have total control of everything. I don't know, but I had to force the issue. And, he's not willing to force the issue sometimes. Sometimes you got to force the issue, and he wasn't willing to do it. All right, let's get to the happy and depressing news, because when you talk Bill Walton, there's always going to be a smile on your face, because that's all Bill Walton could ever do is bring you entertainment, bring you a smile, make you laugh, because he was so good for basketball in every way possible, colorful on the court, off the court, as an announcer, just, a guy that by the way, he went out with cancer, but those of us that are old, we know how tough he was as a player, because he had those fused ankles that he played with all the way to the end, where you and I know that even as a broadcaster, for him to get around and all that, it was mission. This is one tough son of a bitch. because he fought a lot of pain for well over half a century.
You know, this was the rare case of someone you see publicly is the same person you see privately. I have run into Big O over the years, plenty of front-facing, wow, he's a good guy, guys, and you get back in the bowels of the arena and he wants nothing to do with you. Bill Walton was the opposite. The one line I've heard resonate since we learned about his death yesterday.
John Stockton, anyone? All right, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'll leave that for the politicos and other people. Bill Walton was who you saw the same way both places. He was just a guy that it was great to be around. He was friendly to everyone. He understood how important it was to make the people connection. So the connection, whether it was with Dave Pasch or working the NBA national broadcast and bringing that joy to the game, he really, you know what, the lesson we learned, which is why when you mentioned here about bringing a smile to your face also is those of us who don't savor every day and enjoy every moment, look at someone like that who appreciated life to the fullest. He took the ride. It's a ride for all of us. We don't know when it's going to end, but we know along the way we can bring joy, we can deliver joy, we can experience joy. That's really who Bill Walton was. I mean, I once dealt with him. He published a magazine. One of these things, you put your name on it. It was Bill Walton's NBA basketball preview. And I wrote an article and the magazine folded and I got stiffed out of my pay. And Bill comes over and goes, "Oh, that's terrible. We have to talk to those people." He was just, he didn't give me the money, but he commiserated. He understood the working man and what you go through. He was a really, really, really good person. There was nothing phony about him. And Big O, in our industry, there is so much phony. There are so many people in your seat. When the microphone goes off, people go, "Man, what an a-hole that guy is." And then you turn the lights on and they're a different person. He was the same lights on, lights off. It was a pleasure to be around him. And the difference was when the Heat were great, every broadcaster was my best friend because they wanted to know what was going on with the team. They had to cover it on a regular basis. When the Heat wasn't great, it didn't matter to Bill. He would still greet you when he was doing a game. He would still treat you the same. He was a special guy. I'm glad I got to meet him. I'm glad I got to know him. And I'm glad even now I'm getting to read all these remembrances when you realize how many lives that he touched.
Exactly. And it didn't matter where he was, whether he was calling a game at Oregon or an NBA game, it was always going to be the greatest broadcast of all because that's how he made it feel. You know what I mean? And to him, it was a blessing to call whatever game he was at, pro or college. You know what I mean? It's just a really good dude overall. Maybe also it's part of the era where he came from too, because he obviously came from a more of a loving era. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know what it was about him, but it was just a dude that he everybody was the same to him. And everybody could relate to him one way or another, no matter if we weren't even on his same plane.
Right.
Because he obviously was thinking, things that we would never be thinking of, but we all kind of wanted to relate to him. You know what I mean? It's just
and if you go through with life with a smile as opposed to these angry times, it doesn't matter whether you're pro-marijuana or anti-marijuana, whether you're liberal or conservative, however you feel about social injustice and however you want to vent, if you go through life with a smile, you're more likely to get a positive reaction. That's what he did. Because Big O, he understood more than anything one thing. This is a game. That's all it is. You're on before you come on the air, you watch these sports talk debate shows where everyone is angry and bloviating. You mentioned it before my segment today about people talking about what does Tua think and what doesn't he think and trying to come up with their outrageous opinions. He never veered from the course of this is a game. I'm trying to throw a sphere through a circle while running around in short pants. He appreciated that and it came off as that. It's just a game. He enjoyed the game.
no doubt. All right, what do you got going on the Sentinel so folks can check you out?
Just posted a story. It's on Sentinel.com. It'll be at your doorstep tomorrow. For the first time ever, the NBA is introducing an early negotiating period for your own free agents. It used to be until June 30th, 6 p.m., you could not talk to your own players either. Now, more like the NFL, one day after the NBA Finals ends, you get an open period to negotiate with your own free agents. For the Heat, that's Caleb Martin, Haywood Highsmith, maybe Josh Richardson, Thomas Bryant, Kevin Love. It gives them the extra period. But here's the interesting part, Big O. That window opens the day after the end of the NBA Finals. So you have 28 teams who only want one thing right now, the fastest possible NBA Finals. Because those teams, an important situation for a lot, including the Lakers with LeBron, you can wind up with a 2-week runway to establish yourself ahead of free agency, or you can wind up with 4 or 5 days if the Finals goes the full 7. So it's the first time that's in place. I broke it down. I talked about how that might have impacted Heat last year with Gabe Vincent and Max Strus, and how it might impact the Heat this year, believe it or not. Please read the story about Jimmy Butler. So it's a different approach by the NBA. I think it's smart because everyone cheats anyway. At least now you can legally cheat with your own free agents.
There you go. Follow him on Twitter at Ira Heatbeat and catch his work there at the South Florida Sun Sentinel. Ira, have a terrific week. We'll catch up on Monday, my friend.
Catch you next week at the NBA Finals preview and the Acura Pembroke Pines report. Thanks, Big O.
Thank you, sir. And Acura Pembroke Pines, they've got it going on right now. 15601 Pines Boulevard, just off of I-75 and Pines. And by the way, if you own or lease an Acura, tell them that Big O sent you. Get on down there. Go see Mike Chan and Jordan Ferber. They do an excellent job. And, folks, they got their 16th anniversary sale going on right now. You can get 3.9% financing for 60 months. The 2024s, the Integra, $319, the RDX, $419, the MDX, $429, and, of course, the electrified ZDX is here, folks. You can sign up. You want to get your ZDX, order it now. Get on down there. Go see Larry Schlossberg, Pat Nasto, Tony Stampone, all the great people out there at Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines.